It's Thursday the 6th of April 2017. Welcome to the Purple Army podcast in association with Goldstone Wealth Management. This is episode number 90. I am Ross McGregor. In this week's show we will look ahead to the playoff weekend, have another mugshot competition, and discuss Ryan Finnerty's tenure with the clan. First off though, we'll have a look back at the playoff quarter-final.
Clouds in your pockets filled with dreams, bound for glory on the seven seas of life. But the ocean is deeper than it seems. The wind was with you when you left on the morning tide. You set your sails for an island in the sun, but on the horizon there are dark clouds up ahead, and the storm has just begun. So take me with you, take me far away, lead me to the distant shore, and sail your ship across the water. Spread your wings across the sky, and take the time to see you're the one who holds the key. A sailing ships will pass you by.
I'm joined for this part of the programme by Raymond Monaghan. How are you, Raymond?
I'm good, thanks, Ross.
And we've also got Graham Thompson. How are you, Graham?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Ross.
I listened to the programme. You were talking to Murph the other night. Obviously, he was good enough to give me a night off, and I thoroughly enjoyed the programme. And you know, we're going to cover a few of the things that you talked to Murph about, but that's just the nature of the beast. And for anybody that hasn't heard, we'll probably go into it in a wee bit more depth than you did with Murph. But obviously, we'll start off with Saturday night. Clan 1, Stars 3. Stars took the lead after 7.5 minutes through Justin Farina. Alex Levitt equalised with a bit of individual brilliance in the second period. But just as that period was coming to an end, Farina got another one to put Dundee 2-1 up. Vinny Scarcella got Dundee's third after about 8 minutes in the third period to end the scoring. And Clan finished that game up 3-1 now. At that point, Graham, you're thinking, well, 3-1 isn't exactly what you wanted, but it's not unachievable really in terms of getting that back. I think... I remember tweeting it at the time. My memory served me rightly. We had previous couple of games to Dundee. We had managed to beat them. I think it was at 4-1 and 5-0 at home. So you're kind of thinking, well, history's still there for us. But it has to be said, the performance of Dundee was, Mark Lefevre had them well up for it. Had them well drilled, and they came out the traps absolutely flying, didn't they?
They did. I mean, I think to kind of answer your question about how I felt after the game, of course, the cliche about, the worst lead to have is a 2-goal lead. I wasn't comforted by that, to be quite honest with you, because the way they shut us down, and we didn't play badly, but there's no doubt, and of course, I'm going to refer to with a slight nod to Mark Lefevre's interview after the game. But they shut us down. They shut us down big time, and they just had us sussed. And there's all sorts of factors that come into play. Our top line. I mean, since Mike Hammond got injured, and here we go again. But it's true. Since Mike Hammond got injured, that top line has not been the top line that obviously we know and love, and with the greatest respect to Matt Haywood and one or two others that have come in to fill out in that line has not worked at all since Mike Hammond got injured, which is what we feared. But the Dundee tactics were absolutely right, and there's also the manner in which the whole game tailed off for us. 3 shots on goal in the third period is just, that was not what we needed to do. We were talking about trying to come back to Braehead with a 1 or 2 goal lead because of our past playoff performances. So to come back with a 2 goal deficit was certainly I had that sense of foreboding. But fair play to Dundee, and we'll talk about Sunday night, but both nights they just got the tactics spot on as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they seem to do. I mean, I thought our players really looked really tired and lethargic compared to Dundee's. I mean, Graham's talking about 3 shots on the third period, but we were outshot 39-26 in the game in its entirety. And I have to say, one of the few players to get, good pass marks for that game was Zajkowski, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for Zajkowski, I think it could have been easily 6 or 7-1 Dundee. I thought, and even that was with Zajkowski, I thought starting a bit ropey. He looked rather shaky, and albeit he did give up a lot of rebounds, he made the saves that were required, and I think he was one of the few people that done the job that was required for the game. And what really worried me with the game overall is just how little we had of it. I think I'd be exaggerating if I said we had 5 minutes of the play or the dictating of the tempo or that. It was just very, very lethargic, as you've been saying. And Dundee, they just dominated in every single department, and again our special teams didn't come through when we hoped they would. We had a chance at a 5-on-3, we had a number of 5-on-4s. I thought we benefited from the sort of decisions Saturday night, but it didn't make a blind bit of difference. Dundee just came out from the first puck chasing absolutely everything. They forechecked so hard. At times we looked like a man short, even when it was even strength ice. You can't give them enough credit, and they were unlucky only to have the 2 goal lead. And while in terms of the scoreline we were in it did worry me greatly going into the second leg. The performance, it just didn't fit the occasion at all. And I was really unsure after that what we would get the next night in Braehead.
Yeah, and that's what we're just going to talk about now. Despite, I think you're both absolutely correct. The performance of Dundee worried me. Our performance worried me. But you still came back to Braehead thinking, all we need to do is get an early goal. That'll unsettle them, and we can maybe just pick them apart and I'll go back to form. The game on Sunday night played out probably just the same as the game on Saturday night in terms of Dundee. Well, there was a scoreless first period, very tense. Dundee opened the scoring just shy of 12 minutes into the second. I think it was Tanaka. And then Joey Sides and Kevin Hart both scored in the third to basically seal it. Again, as I said, I think we looked tired, slow. We lacked fire compared to Dundee. We allowed Dundee to get inside us all night, or either that or they turned the corner on us all night, whereas they kept us to the outside. A lot of our shots were speculative. They were coming from just inside the blue line, from the wings, with nobody in support for any kind of rebounds that was coming. It just seemed as if we couldn't crack them inside, we couldn't get inside, we lacked ideas. And, I think most people I spoke to before the game, said to me, and I agreed with them, we'll know within the first 5 minutes if we're going to do this tonight. And I have to say, after the first 5 minutes, I kind of thought, we're not doing this tonight. It just didn't look any different to the night before. Obviously we all know we lost 3-0. It was disappointing. Do you know there's only one team that had kept us scoreless at home this season? Can you guess who it was?
Dundee?
Dundee.
On the 22nd of October with a 3-0 win, believe it or not. I thought, it's the old playoff quarter-final thing coming back. I don't know if our players are just been a bit more tired, but they've not. We can't really say that as an excuse, because Dundee have got a slightly smaller squad than us as well. It's hard to put your finger on it, Graham, exactly why Dundee. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We're not shying away from it. Dundee deserved both those games. They deserved to win both those games, and they deserved to be going to the playoffs. But why did we collapse? Why? I can't put my finger on it.
My theory is a fairly simple one, and that is the fact that we won the conference system weeks ago, and our form since winning the conference system has been pretty dire. And meanwhile, Dundee Stars have been fighting for playoff survival. They came into both of those games hot. They've just survived an absolute dogfight at the bottom end of that table to get into the top 8. Okay, not so much perhaps the Storm, but they were fighting for their lives, and at one stage it looked like they weren't going to make it. And I just think they just kept that momentum going. We had no momentum, absolutely none, and I think that's what killed us. And we talked about it weeks ago. We talked about it after we won the conference. And we said the biggest test for this team is going to be how do we keep the form going? And the truth is, we didn't. Playing Edinburgh the previous weekend, with the greatest respect to Edinburgh, and they were reasonably entertaining games, and Edinburgh, as usual, were made a decent fist of it. But that's not fighting for your survival. And I just think we had a roster that came along with the Hammond injury and whatever else. I just think we had a roster coming in that more or less was tired, end of the season, everything else, but finally had forgotten to know how to fight for their survival. Dundee came into those games hot, and we didn't.
I would normally...
Sorry, Damon, you go. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Normally I wouldn't argue that what you just said, Graham, very much, but I would contrast it to last year where our conference hopes were on the line, and we won 7 straight games, and we went into the playoffs last season the hottest team in the league, and even that, the opposite end of the spectrum, we still get snuffed out in the quarterfinals again. But what really, we talked about both legs, which really contrasted between the both years. Although we lost last year, I was pretty satisfied that the players gave absolutely everything they had. They put it all out there, and it went on a coin toss in the end. But this was such a comprehensive defeat in Braehead and ultimately both legs, and it kind of reminded me of the stuff we were doing at the start of the season. We weren't scoring, we couldn't really defend very well, we were trying stuff over and over again that wasn't working. I mean, the amount of times we stuck the puck in the corners, but we lost, I think, 95% of the battles in the corners, but we kept on putting it there. We resorted to dump and chase, and I think I've seen Harry Quast chase more his own dump-ins than anybody else did. And I have to say, some of the guys we criticise a wee bit more, the likes of Quast and the likes of Baldwin, I thought they were actually our best players, at least in the home leg. They were blocking shots, they were chasing after everything, they were trying their best, but just collectively, just absolutely nothing worked. And that game as well would have been perfect for Mike Hammond, because he was one of the few players we had that could create something out of nothing. And by golly, did we need some inspiration in that home leg. Had a couple of Neil-Lees, had a couple of potential tap-ins, but we just couldn't create anything. We couldn't create enough. And Dundee, they deserved the shutout in the end as well.
Yeah, I think, Ray's, you've definitely got a point. Last year, we did lose to Fife, but it was a fight. I mean, to score 1 goal in 2 games in playoff hockey, and to be out-fought, out-competed, it's just, it's a strange one. But we also mentioned this last week. I thought, and again, Graham, you mentioned it, and I agree with it as well, we weren't really playing for a lot the last few games. Scott Pitt scored 1 goal in the last 7 games of the season, including the 2 against Dundee. Matt Becker, if you go back the last 9 games, Matt Becker's only scored twice, 2 goals. That's your top 2 guys, and that, when I was looking at that, and I think we mentioned it on the podcast last week as well, that was worrying me, that I thought the 2 of them might have just gone off the boil. But the fact remains, we didn't get them set up in their usual chances, and that's as much to do with how well Dundee played us. I think you watched one of the interviews, I think it was, I don't remember if it was Ryan or Matt, Keith said they changed the way they played. They set up in a way we haven't seen all year, and we couldn't get inside them at all. And I think that was part of the problem too. We just couldn't figure out how to break them down. And I think they were able to do that purely because they had the desire and the will. Somebody said to me, and I'm not suggesting that I support the opinion, but somebody said to me, some of our players look as if they just want to go home, compared to Dundee's, who looked as if they wanted to go to Nottingham.